Hey everybody, welcome back to another Filming Stories. Hope you guys been enjoying the content on the channel as of late. Just an FYI, if you notice this little little dot here, that's just some other light, but I just, you know, it's not anything to do with my camera. It's just, something in the back seat, but I can't cover it well enough. So just FYI, if you notice this little dot, it seems a little irritating. Just probably just gave awareness to it, so now you're all gonna see it in the video. Um, but um, but yeah, so we're back once again with another filming stories. I try to do these at least once a month, just because there's only so many like stories that I have to share. Um, and we're kind of coming down to the wire. And I kind of want to get this one out of the way, just because this one's where it's a little bit of a self-indulgence. I mean, they're all basically self-indulgent, but this one particularly is a bit self-indulgent, um, which has a lot to do with a particular screening experience that I had. And forgive me if this just seems a bit egotistical, seems a little um, flattery. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to come off a certain way. Um, which is why I'm gonna get this one done before I do any other story, just because but just because I just don't want to come off a certain way. Um, but yeah, so I had a screening experience that was interesting. I've had, prior to this, I've had festival circuits, with other projects and other things, and those experiences were unique and interesting. But this one especially was rather unique, just because of just the traveling that we had to do and the location specifically, which was the TCL Chinese Theater, Grumman's Theater. I had an experience, an opportunity that was given to me, to screen the film, one of the films that me and my crew worked on. Um, it was the last thing that we did. Um, we had an opportunity to screen it at the TCL Chinese Theater, uh, in LA, and it was an interesting experience, just because traveling to LA. I mean, I've been to LA before, and not like deep in LA, rather like outside of LA, because there's like cousins and relatives and stuff like that, that live near LA. But deep in LA, haven't really had that experience before. Um, we had a hotel that was literally across the street from TCL, so we kind of went all out for it. And Primarily, I'm just gonna touch on my experience of LA, just because I just don't really want to touch on TCL, because I just don't want to let my I just don't want this whole like video to feel so colored, so like, oh, like, look at him, whatever, like, like, um so but I mean, speaking about LA, I mean, it was neat, I mean, it's LA, so it's busy, it's a little dirty, uh, and I mean, a little busy for my taste. I mean, I come from a suburban life, so I like to be very removed from that sort of lifestyle. That whole city life is just not really for me. I get very anxious and very stressed, when it's just constant noise and constant, people around you. I like to have my open space. So, um, and I mean, back then, just with stuff like this, obviously I was nervous, to like to screen it, because it was the first time that we had like a theatrical experience, so because we've had like online experiences, and there was, coincidentally, with that film, at the same time, there was also a streaming release that was happening simultaneously. So not with this specific festival, but it was just something that was happening, like coinciding with the theatrical experience. Just happened to be happening around the same time. Um, so it was like two different releases that were happening at the same time, and both of which never had experience with, and it was unique experiences. But especially discussing with streaming, like understanding just like um, the ownership, if I maintain ownership, and or if they are wanting a certain this and that, because there wasn't any money real involved, but just by like talks, just by how I was like talking to them, I had to like clarify a few things just because I didn't know what they meant by certain statements. And I have ownership of it, thankfully. Um, so, but going into TCL though, I've never actually been to the TCL Chinese theater, just generally speaking, prior to that event. So going into that theater, I mean, it's more interesting from the outside than from the inside, because in the inside it's just your typical theater. It's just it's nothing uh that interesting. I mean, there is historic value to it, obviously, um, but it's more about what's happening on the outside that's more interesting than what's happening on the inside, because it's just your average looking theater at that point. Um, but uh, but just I walked in and we saw the movie on the big screen, and that was kind of a unique experience. Um, and I can say that I had walkouts. That was definitely, that was also something of a unique experience, seeing walkouts for the film, and I can understand why, because it's just, kind of full of myself sort of thing, um, and like even funnier enough, I feel like I had like engaged with some of the festival directors, like some of the people who were putting on the little event, and they also seemed a little iffy. Um, I'm just wondering like who picked it, because like it was accepted, so I'm just curious as to like who in that jury pool, or that the judges were like, oh yeah, let's put this thing in here. Um, because they all seemed a little like, which you know, looking back on it now, I mean, I'm proud of all the work I did, but it's just it's more of like I'd rather not talk about it now, because I don't know, it revitalizes certain feelings and stuff like that I just wish to not have any association with. Um, but um, but it was a unique experience, and just it also taught me a little bit about just the the stress that comes with getting a film into theaters, like just kind of learning the logistics of it, the cost of it. Thankfully, because of just the the acceptance through that festival, the cost was way cheaper compared to normal means of getting a film put in theaters. Yeah, yeah, it's was way less than per usual. Still expensive though. Don't let me fool you. It was still expensive, but not as expensive as it could have been. Um, so um uh but but yeah, it was a very unique experience, and it wasn't a busy festival either. I mean, it was just like people basically came in with their parents and family, so it was more of a gathering than a festival, because I've gone to like the San Diego Film Festival a handful of times, not anymore because they just don't they've like really have been lacking as of late, just like on content. Also, price wise, like I just I may like back then when I was a little bit younger, more naive, and didn't understand the value of money, I probably would be perfectly fine throwing $300 at a film festival. But now, understanding the value of money and saving money and doing all sorts of stuff, $300 just to see potentially 3 or 4 movies, kiss my ass. So um no. um but those festivals, there's a little more of a liveliness to them, just because there's a little more going on. This was very student oriented, um I mean, it was nice to see my aunt because she flew out, and um just being in LA just to get away from where we usually are, here and where we're at. Not giving away where I almost said where I live, but um, so it was nice to just visit LA, but getting out of it, we were even my family, like my mom especially, who's like extremely honest. Even she was just like, that seemed kind of don't you think? Like, and I was trying to be positive minded about it, but honestly, yeah, I mean, the experience, I mean, it was cool to like just do it, it was cool to just to have that experience and to just just for this, just for something like this, just to have a story, like it's an interesting thing to look back on, like just as a story, um, because I don't really I agree with my mom, like just the whole experience, which is kind of like you know, um, like it's pretty much just how a lot of young people think. Like it was it was interesting only by this by what's visually, like the fact that it's there at that specific theater, like that's what was so that's what where the value comes from, um, and it was just a normal theater, guys. I mean, I don't know if any of you have been at TCL, but it's just like it's it's nothing different compared to like your AMC's or your Regals, like it's just bare bones. They just have like a museum of sorts of like portraits and of certain actors and stuff like that. Like, you know, but it's like your typical premium type theater, So, but it was something, I guess that's the way I'll put it. It was something. Um and I mean, it's it's neat to say that it got to go to like TCL. It's neat to say that, but it's like it's not much really to it. It's just a theater. Um, and I definitely learned from going to LA though. I'm not a city guy. I do not work well in a big city place where people like, especially in LA, like just the amount of crowds, especially in around TCL, that around the theater area, man, it got like packed, and that doesn't do well for me or for my anxiety. Um, but yeah, so I'm just happier to be in a place, just much more open space and less, less crowds. So, but but yeah, so I mean that was something. I mean, just it happened, it came, and it kind of went. It was just kind of like whatever. Um, you know, cool by just, I guess, like a name drop. I guess I don't know. Like I'm just, I don't really. It wasn't really anything that special, but yeah, it's literally just like I'm doing right now. It's a cool thing to like. It's a neat story, neat experience, I guess. Um, but in terms of just like how I feel, just eh, you know, I was more just dealing with anxiety just because of where we were at, So, but yeah, so it was just but but yeah, so that was my little experience in a theater. That's one thing. That girl just scared me. Oh my God, she looked super close to my car. Um, but that was my little experience with just a theatrical experience. Like I said, I guess that's the one thing that came out of it was like understanding a little bit more about the theatrical experience, kind of the headache that of getting a film placed into a auditorium, learning about streaming, with that happening also at the same time, learning a little bit more about that sort of that sort of world, the sort of kind of getting a dip into the business side of it, getting a little peek into that sort of place. Um, so that was good information to get from said experience. Um, I just try to look for the positives nowadays. I'm not trying to like be overly cynical, but that being said, it was kind of a, for the most part, a pretty meaningless thing. And especially for how much it cost, it was not really worth it. So, but 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 uh, knowledge wise, it was there was some value there, but just overall, like endeavor, kind of pointless. So, but yeah, so those are my I was about to say my thoughts as if we're doing a movie review. I'm a little anxious right now, so just, apologies if I seem a little just more animated than usual. I just don't like these kind of stories, like just the sort of like just talking about myself, like this sort of thing. I'm not really comfortable with that. Like I'm comfortable more in like other terms, but I just don't like to talk about it where I'm just like, oh, look at me, look how great, or blah 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 blah. Like I don't want to look a certain way. So, but it was just a whatever, type thing. But I'm happy with the knowledge that it brought, with just understanding the whole experience with theaters and streaming. So, but yeah. So if any of you guys have actually been to TCL, you guys let me know. I mean, is there something to it? I mean, it just seems like it's any old theater to me. But you guys let me know your thoughts on TCL, and if you guys have been to it, and if you guys live in LA, I mean, if it's for you, I guess, but I mean, definitely not for me. But but yeah, so I'm gonna go work out now just to relieve some anxiety, some stress, and it's more so of also other things that are going on. Um, but um, but yeah. So thank you guys for tuning in, and until then, I will catch you guys in the next video.